Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're tackling something anyone who spent even 5 minutes in an early education classroom knows all too well, the 45-minute barrier. If you've ever been around children between the ages of 3 and 8, you absolutely know about their constant motion, right? They're incredibly curious, yet our standard classroom model often just expects them to sit perfectly still and quietly absorb information. Well, today we're going to explore exactly why young learners simply cannot withstand a traditional 45-minute teaching session, and more importantly, we'll look at what we should be doing instead to keep them actively engaged and actually thriving.
Picture this. It's a highly relatable scene. You're a teacher or maybe an observer in a kindergarten classroom. You've planned an absolutely flawless, detailed lesson. You're ready to go. But about 10 to 15 minutes in, the shift is undeniable. Suddenly a child in the second row is drawing all over their desk. Another one is using their pencils as drumsticks, and a few others have just started chattering away with their friends, completely oblivious to your perfectly crafted lesson plan. We look at this and have to ask, why do preschool students lose focus so quickly? Are they just acting out? Or is there something fundamental about their biological and mental development that we're completely missing when we try to lecture them?
Okay, let's dive into this. We're going to break this down into 4 clear steps today. First, we'll look at the 45-minute barrier itself. Second, the science of attention. Third, how physical needs dictate classroom design. And finally, we'll wrap up with actionable classroom strategies you can actually use.
First up, Section 1, the 45-minute barrier and the reality we face in the classroom.
Think about the stark contrast between these two educational models. The traditional classroom relies heavily on long periods of sitting, silent listening, and really lengthy verbal explanations. And honestly, this usually just leads to frustrated, completely disengaged kids slumped over their desks. Now compare that to a modern, child-centered classroom. This model completely embraces active play, built-in movement breaks, and interactive game stations. In this kind of vibrant environment, you don't see frustration at all. You see joyful learners in action. You see, children ages 3 to 8 are developing so rapidly, physically, emotionally, mentally, and socially, that maintaining long periods of static concentration is practically impossible for them.
Moving right along to Section 2, the science of attention, focusing on Piaget and Vygotsky.
Let's talk about Jean Piaget's cognitive development theory. Piaget explained that children in what he called the pre-operational stage learn primarily through active interaction with their environment. They absolutely need exploration, they need pictures, and they crave hands-on activities. They just don't learn optimally by sitting and listening. Let's use a really specific example to make this concrete. Imagine teaching a young child how to count. According to Piaget's framework, that child is going to grasp this math concept so much faster, and honestly with way more joy, if they are physically picking up and counting blocks or toys, rather than sitting silently while an adult just talks at them about numbers. Hands-on exploration is exactly how their brain is wired to acquire knowledge at this age.
Next, we add Lev Vygotsky's social development theory into the mix. Vygotsky's framework suggests that children learn most effectively not in isolation, but through social interaction, guided communication, and dynamic group activities. So the crucial point is that learning has to involve active participation, not long stretches of silent sitting. Think about how a child learns a language. Vygotsky believed, and modern educators observe this literally every single day, that children learn language so much faster through group storytelling, through singing songs together, and through lively classroom discussions. A long lecture on vocabulary, it simply cannot compete with the incredible developmental power of social play.
When you map these two theories together, the shift in how we should be teaching becomes crystal clear. Applying Piaget means we actively change our classroom to feature physical blocks for math instead of handing out silent worksheets. And applying Vygotsky, that means replacing those quiet study periods with vibrant storytelling and singing for language development. It's incredibly powerful when we stop fighting human nature and start mapping these established academic theories directly to real, human-centered classroom actions.
Which brings us to Section 3. Physical needs dictate design. Energy and comfort.
We really have to talk about the physical symptoms of prolonged sitting. Young children have bodies that literally compel them to move. It's not a choice. If we force a child to sit quietly for too long, we see immediate physical reactions: tiredness, visible restlessness, stretching, yawning, and inevitably someone just stands up and starts walking around the room. Their interest in learning just plummets, and it's not because the topic is boring, but because their developing bodies are sending them urgent, undeniable signals to move. Their physical development actively dictates the need for much shorter lesson segments.
And of course, we cannot ignore Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs. This foundational psychological theory basically states that children must feel physically comfortable, safe, and emotionally supported before any effective learning can happen at all. Just imagine a child sitting in a hot, overcrowded classroom, or a kid who is hungry, tired, or emotionally stressed. That physical discomfort completely derails their concentration. Before we can ask a child's brain to process a lesson on the alphabet, we have to ensure their fundamental physical and emotional environment is secure. If the environment is fighting them, their attention span naturally drops to zero.
And this brilliantly illustrates our final segment, Section 4, Actionable Classroom Strategies, moving beyond the lecture.
Okay, here is the playbook. These are the structural steps school administrators and teachers must take to successfully replace those exhaustive 45-minute lectures. Step 1. Divide your long lessons into short, punchy teaching periods. A 10 to 15-minute burst of instruction is the absolute sweet spot. Step 2. Aggressively insert movement breaks. Let them stretch, stand up, wiggle around, whatever it takes. Step 3. Implement play-based exercises to immediately reinforce the concept you just taught. And Step 4. Actively guide group interactions. Setting up this structure keeps the lesson moving at the exact same energetic pace as the children themselves.
So what do these play-based exercises actually look like in a real classroom? Well, instead of a verbal explanation of primary colors, picture a teacher guiding vibrant color-matching games where kids are physically moving across the room. Think of dedicated group storytelling corners where real, face-to-face human interaction takes the lead. Utilizing visual flashcards, interactive smartboards, or even short animated educational videos can dramatically shift the energy in the room. But remember, nothing replaces the active participation of children learning alongside each other. It's really all about taking those passive moments and turning them into highly collaborative, deeply engaging human experiences.
If there is one core takeaway from all of this, it's that child-centered learning simply creates better education. We absolutely have to match the method to the child rather than forcing the child to match an outdated method. Embracing short, active, and playful lessons is the ultimate key here. It aligns perfectly with Piaget, Vygotsky, and Maslow. It respects a child's fundamental physical need to move, and it practically guarantees drastically improved concentration, participation, and long-term learning outcomes.
I want to leave you with a bit of a challenge today. For the educators, the parents, and the leaders watching, how will you transform your next 45-minute lesson into an active play experience? The science is incredibly clear, the strategies are completely actionable, and the end result is a classroom full of engaged, joyful, and deeply focused learners. Ditch the long lecture and just watch how quickly these young minds light up. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I will see you next time.